Let's be honest. If you've ever wondered why the more you care, the more she pulls away, while the guy who barely texts her back seems to have her full attention, then what I'm about to say may feel unfair, maybe even a little dark. Because the truth is, women rarely admit this out loud. In the first few seconds right now, I want you to feel something unsettling, because you've likely played the role of the good man, the kind one, the emotionally available one. And yet, she still chose the man who didn't chase, who seemed unbothered. You tried to show love, he showed indifference. You tried to prove your worth, he acted like her presence was optional. And instead of running from him, she ran to him. Why? Not because he's better than you, but because at a deep psychological level, emotional detachment activates her instincts, her curiosity, and her need for validation. It creates a tension, one that makes her question herself and her feelings, making her attach emotionally even harder. You see, men who are emotionally detached often radiate control, not over her, but over themselves. And in a world where most men bend the moment desire arrives, that stability becomes magnetic. She doesn't fall for the lack of care, she falls for the perceived strength behind it. Ironically, it's not that he's detached from her, it's that he seems detached from needing her. And that difference is everything. A woman doesn't crave a man who ignores her. She craves a man who wouldn't crumble without her, one who, if she walked away, would silently nod, adjust his coat, and continue his path without asking her to stay. But why does this disturb you? Because deep down, you've likely been taught that vulnerability equals connection, and it does, when paired with strength. But if vulnerability arrives without foundation, without purpose, it appears as emotional dependence. And no matter how much she may say she wants a man who opens up, if what she hears feels like you're handing her your emotional weight, expecting her to carry it, she will eventually pull back. Women admire emotional expression, but desire emotional discipline. They want to feel safe in your arms, but they want to know you'd still stand without them. Here's the truth they rarely tell you. The chase isn't about the man, it's about how she feels trying to reach him. Emotional detachment forces her to confront her own emotions, her own insecurities. She becomes invested not in the man himself, but in the mirror he holds up to her. And when she finally gets his attention, it feels earned, not given. That is where the high lies. You, on the other hand, may have given connection too freely, not realizing that what is easily obtained is rarely deeply valued. So before you think this is about becoming cold, understand this. It's about becoming anchored, a man unshaken by approval. That is the beginning. What truly breaks a woman's attraction isn't sadness, emotion, or even vulnerability. It's urgency. It's when she senses that her acceptance dictates your peace. Because this tells her one thing: your emotional center exists outside of yourself, and that terrifies her. A woman subconsciously seeks a man who holds emotional sovereignty, not one who silences emotion, but one who does not outsource his sense of self. The emotionally detached man, in her eyes, is not cold. He is unpredictable, and unpredictability is intoxicating. It makes her question, what will he do next? Does he even think about me the way I think about him? And the irony? The moment she asks herself that question, she is emotionally invested. That's the grip. Women often associate emotional detachment with strength because most men only reveal deep emotion when they've lost control, when they panic, when they feel her slipping away. And that is why when you express emotion reactively, in the heat of insecurity, it doesn't cultivate closeness, it signals instability. She starts to think, if I walk away, will he be okay? And if the answer appears to be no, attraction begins to dissolve. Contrast that with the emotionally grounded man. His emotional expression doesn't come from need, but from choice. He doesn't speak to seek reassurance. He speaks to connect. He doesn't reveal his heart to gain approval, but because his foundation is already secure. The difference is felt. Women sense if you're revealing emotion to bond or to be saved, and they are drawn to the former but repelled by the latter. the dark truth. When she meets a man who doesn't react to her highs or lows, it destabilizes her. She begins to question her own value. She imagines other women trying harder to get his attention. She assumes his emotional control is a reflection of abundance, that if she loses him, 10 more await, even if that's not true. And that perceived abundance affects attraction more than any physical trait you possess. Men often misunderstand this dynamic, believing they must suppress their feelings to win. But suppression breeds resentment. What you need instead is emotional discipline. Express emotion without surrendering power. Show interest without showing dependency. Stand present without reaching. Because here's what most men never learn. Emotional detachment should not be a strategy, but a state of being. You don't pretend not to need her. You actually don't need her. You want her, yes, you appreciate her, but your identity existed long before her, and it will remain long after. And when that truth lives in your actions, not just your words, she feels it. That is what compels her. If you felt a sting in hearing this, it's because you've likely made the mistake of giving emotional intimacy before emotional maturity. And that ends today. The shift begins now. The emotionally detached man didn't become that way by choice. He became that way through experience. Pain forged his distance. Rejection taught him stillness. He learned that emotional availability without boundaries invites chaos. And while you may have judged him as cold, what she sees is resilience. She sees a man who has mastered the art of control. This is where the psychology gets darker. Women don't consciously seek emotionally detached men because they enjoy being neglected. They seek them because those men represent safety from emotional volatility. They don't want a stone, they want a fortress, a place strong enough to shelter their storms, not collapse under them. A man who can handle their emotional waves without drowning. When she encounters a man who is too eager to please, her instincts categorize him as uncertain. If she can shift his mood with a delayed text or cold reply, she subconsciously believes others can too. That threatens her security, because if you're easily affected by her fluctuation, how can you protect her from the world's? The hard truth is this: the more grounded a man is, the more erratically a woman tests him. Not because she desires conflict, but because she wants confirmation. She wants to witness whether your emotional detachment is authentic or performative, whether it's natural or strategic. And believe me, she can feel the difference. A man pretending not to care eventually exposes himself through subtle reactions. His silence feels tense, his absence feels forced, but a man who genuinely stands rooted, his silence radiates peace. His absence doesn't seek attention, it simply exists. When she meets that, her defenses melt. Not immediately, but gradually, because she no longer feels the need to test him. She begins to open, she starts sharing more. And ironically, the emotionally anchored man often reveals his softer side much later, when it's earned, when it's safe. And that delayed intimacy strikes differently. It feels chosen, deliberate, meaningful. That is what women crave, the feeling that your emotion is a revelation, not an expectation. If you've ever watched her slowly lose interest while you gave more and more, understand this. What you offered was comfort without mystery, safety without challenge, predictability without depth. You were present, but you weren't potent. Strength is not in being unavailable, it's in being unmoved. Offer your heart, but never hand over your center. Let her feel your care, but let her witness your self-respect. That combination changes everything. This is not about playing games, it's about becoming the man you once pretended to be. Most men who hear that women are drawn to emotional detachment immediately try to mimic it. They start pulling away, responding slower, acting unbothered, as if distance alone creates attraction. But what they don't realize is that artificial detachment isn't attractive, it's transparent. And nothing disconnects a woman faster than sensing a man who is performing indifference out of fear. Real emotional power doesn't come from withdrawal, it comes from restraint. Not reacting doesn't mean ignoring. It means understanding that attention is valuable and giving it from a place of clarity, not desperation. Women are not looking for a man who avoids intimacy. They are drawn to the man who doesn't use intimacy as a strategy, who doesn't rush to connection just to feel significant. She wants depth, but she also wants stability. The difference between attraction and repulsion is whether your emotional expression feels like a burden or a choice. If you express your longing because you don't want to lose her, she feels pressured. If you express it because you're grounded, centered, and you choose to give, it feels safe. The emotionally detached man appears powerful because he chooses when to engage. His silence carries weight because his words do not spill carelessly. His attention means something because it is not granted to everyone. You may think women fall for men who don't care, but what they actually fall for are men who care selectively. In a world full of men chasing, the one who allows things to come to him radiates internal wealth. Not money, emotional currency, self-worth, a quiet understanding that his presence is a gift. This is why emotional detachment feels magnetic, not because she enjoys being ignored, but because when she finally sees him soften, it feels earned. It feels special, and humans value what takes effort to obtain. The problem is most men think effort means pursuing harder. In reality, effort means refining yourself until your presence is worth pursuing. Here's the difficult truth. You cannot fake emotional non-attachment. You must become it. You must build a life rich beyond her, purpose, discipline, direction. You must become so deeply rooted that even if she walks away, you remain standing. Because if a woman senses her absence would destroy you, she instinctively pulls back. No one wants the responsibility of being someone's emotional oxygen. So stop asking, how do I impress her? And start asking, how do I become a man who impresses himself? Because once your validation comes from within, she will feel it, not through arrogance, but through calm, through unfazed presence, through certainty. Emotional detachment is the byproduct of emotional fulfillment. Once you have that, you won't need to hide your feelings. You'll just never fear losing them. And that, right there, changes everything. Women are not drawn to emotionally detached men because they want pain. They're drawn to men who embody emotional freedom. Because a man who is not enslaved by his emotions is often the one capable of handling hers. She doesn't consciously think, he's cold, I love it. What she feels is, he is unshaken. If I lose control, he won't. Her attraction to his detachment is actually attraction to stability. Attraction is not built from how quickly you open up. It's built from how well you hold space. Most men rush to reveal their deepest feelings early, believing honesty will earn trust. But true trust is built when a woman sees that your emotional state is not dependent on her approval. Vulnerability becomes powerful when it's anchored, when it's done without urgency, without the silent request for reassurance. She needs to feel that you're sharing a part of you, not handing over all of you. Understand this psychological shift. A woman becomes obsessed not with the man who reveals everything, but with the one who reveals just enough to intrigue, yet always keeps his identity intact. The more mystery there is around your emotional world, the more space you give her to fill it with imagination, desire, and pursuit. But mystery alone is not enough. If you're mysterious but inconsistent, she labels you unreliable. If you're emotionally controlled but disconnected, she labels you unfeeling. The perfect balance is a man who is deeply present yet never fully predictable. The truth that stings is this: when you seek closeness out of lack, she will distance. But when you offer closeness from a place of fullness, she will lean in. It's not about being harder to get, it's about being harder to consume. She wants to experience you slowly, over time. Not all at once because you're afraid of losing her. Emotional detachment isn't just attractive, it's evidence of self-mastery. A man obsessed with purpose pulls more naturally than a man obsessed with her. She wants to join your momentum. She wants to feel that your world is already spinning, and being with you would make it more meaningful, but losing her would not stop it. Men often ask, so how do I become emotionally detached? Wrong question. The real question is, what part of me am I still trying to prove? Because the more you need her validation, the less you possess masculine gravity. Let your silence reflect peace. Let your words reflect intent. Speak less to be heard and more to be understood. That is the difference between chasing attention and owning presence. Once you understand this, you won't fear emotional expression. You'll just never weaponize it for approval. And in that shift, she will see the man she's been searching for. The dark truth behind why women love emotionally detached men is not because they want to fix them, it's because they want to be the one who finally reaches him. They want to feel chosen by someone who doesn't choose easily. But here's what they don't expect, that the healthiest man is not emotionally detached. He's emotionally disciplined. Detached men often avoid love. Disciplined men direct it. And that is the true magnetism. So what now? You don't become numb, you become intentional. You don't close your heart, you fortify it. You don't chase her, you build yourself. You become a man who lives from purpose, not reaction, who understands his worth so deeply that whether she stays or walks away, nothing inside him collapses. The secret is this: women crave a man she can feel, but not move. A man who can love without losing himself. The one who listens without absorbing chaos, speaks without needing to be validated, leads without needing to be followed. You don't have to suppress emotion, you must elevate it. That means you feel it, but you choose when and how to express it. You don't act from impulse, but from intention. That calm authority is what captures a woman's loyalty far more than any chase. When you become this man, emotional detachment is no longer relevant. Because you don't need to detach, you're simply unaffected. You carry peace. And peace is power. When she senses that you can experience her depth without drowning, she'll dive deeper. When she sees that you can love without clinging, she'll attach. When she realizes your strength lies not in silence, but in sovereignty, she'll feel something rare. Safety in surrender. So if you've ever felt overlooked for being too emotional, understand this: it was never your depth that pushed her away. It was the fear that your depth lacked structure. Build the structure, build the discipline, and then offer your emotion like a gift, not a plea. Now pause and ask yourself, what part of my emotional world have I been outsourcing to others to validate? Comment your answer below. I want to hear your truth. If this video hits something inside you, don't just let it fade. Like it, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs to hear this today, because the moment he masters himself, everything changes.